of Maeglin, I felt stone before I saw faces. In the long peace that followed the first settling of the Noldor in Beleriand, when watchfires burned steadily and councils spoke more of order than of war, I sensed in the dream that the greatest dangers were no longer those that waited beyond the northern marches. They were quieter now, moving beneath roofs and within bloodlines, taking shape in hearts not yet tested by open battle. For even as the realms strengthened and alliances held, there were lives unfolding in shadow, lives shaped by exile within exile, by choices made before the trumpet ever sounded. And among these, one name began to surface in my thoughts with uneasy insistence, not because he yet threatened ruin, but because the pattern of his life bent inward upon itself, tightening like a knot drawn too soon. Thus the dream turned from the wide lands of Beleriand to a single fate, and from many voices to one, Maeglin, whose story began far from the open councils and bright banners of the Noldor, and whose end would reach further than any then imagined. Maeglin entered the dream not as a name spoken aloud, but as a presence shaped by contradiction, steel and shadow, brilliance and bitterness, inheritance and exile braided too tightly to ever be untangled. He was born of Aredhel the dark elf, whose smithies rang beneath starlight unwelcoming to guests, and of Aredhel, the White Lady of the Noldor, daughter of Fingolfin, sister to Turgon and Fingon. From the beginning, Maeglin lived between worlds, and the tension of it marked him. I felt it in the dream like a constant pressure behind the eyes. Egil loved the dark woods of Nan Elmoth, and he loved secrecy even more. His craft was unmatched, metals bent beneath his hands as though eager to please him, but his spirit was possessive, closed in upon itself. He tolerated no rival, no equal, and least of all the distant pull of Amen that lingered in Aredhel's voice. "The world is wide," she once said, standing at the edge of the forest, "and I was not made to look only inward." Eöl answered with bitterness, though he wrapped it in reason. "The wide world devours those who trust it." Maeglin heard these words as a child hears thunder, without understanding all their meaning, yet feeling their weight settle deep. He learned craft from his father, and pride from his blood, but he learned freedom from watching his mother look always eastward, as though the light itself called her by name. When Aredhel fled Nan Elmoth with her son, the dream sharpened. Fear rode beside them, and hope ran just ahead, fragile and bright. They came at last to Gondolin, the hidden city of Turgon, and when its gates opened, I felt the air change, as if stone itself recognized kinship. Turgon welcomed his sister with joy and sorrow intertwined, but it was Maeglin who truly awakened in that moment. Gondolin was everything Nan Elmoth was not: ordered, luminous, alive with voices and skill shared freely. Its people honored knowledge, not hoarded it, and Maeglin, keen-eyed, sharp-minded, found himself suddenly among peers who could recognize his gifts without fearing them. I felt his awe, and beneath it, something more dangerous: belonging. Turgon saw his promise, and did not hesitate to foster it. Maeglin learned the deep lore of stone and metal, the hidden strengths of iron, the tempering of steel not merely for beauty but for endurance. He walked the city's foundations as though listening to a language only he could fully hear. "Stone remembers," he once said to Turgon. "Then learn what it fears," the king replied. Yet even as Maeglin flourished, the shadow did not release him. Egil came at last, drawn by rage and loss, and his arrival was like a blade thrust into still water. His words cut, his presence poisoned. He demanded his son back, not as kin reclaimed, but as property restored. In the dream, I felt the moment when Maeglin chose. The choice was given plainly, without threat or persuasion. Maeglin might return with his father into the shadows of Nan Elmoth, or remain in Gondolin under the law of its king. He did not argue, nor plead. He did not even look back. He simply stood where he was, and by that stillness made his will known. Not with a cry, nor with defiance, but with silence. In that silence, his father's fate hardened, and Maeglin felt, though he would not yet admit it, that something irrevocable had been set in motion. Then Eol moved. The throw was sudden and without warning, a motion born of rage rather than aim. The poisoned javelin flew not toward justice nor toward escape, but toward Maeglin, as though the father would rather destroy his son than lose him. Aredhel cried out once, sharp and startled, and stepped between them. The iron struck her where no armor lay, and the venom worked swiftly, dark and unyielding. She did not curse her husband, nor reproach her son. She only reached for Maeglin's hand, and her grip tightened as life left her, as though she would anchor him to the light even as she herself was drawn away. Eol's death followed swiftly, and though justice was spoken, it was not clean. The poison meant for Maeglin struck Aredhel instead, and her passing tore something loose in her son that never healed. I felt his grief curdle into something sharper, edged with guilt and resentment. "She chose the light," Maeglin whispered once, alone, and the light took her. From that moment, the seed of bitterness took root. He carries the weight of self-born guilt for being spared while his mother died. Maeglin remained loyal to Gondolin, outwardly. He served Turgon faithfully, strengthened the city's defenses, and poured his brilliance into its walls and gates. It was said that without him, Gondolin would not have stood so strong for so long. And yet, within him grew a quiet hunger. He loved Idril Celebrindal, Turgon's daughter, with a love that was not patient, not generous, but consuming. He did not wish her happiness. He wished possession. Each time her gaze turned elsewhere, the dream tightened around him like a closing hand. I felt his thoughts begin to bend, not toward betrayal yet, but toward justification. Though Turgon welcomed him and recognized his skill, Maeglin could not help but feel a shadow within himself. He survived when his mother fell. He had gifts the city valued, and yet he was not heir, not lord, not fully of the circle that shaped Gondolin's future. Among peers and kin, he measured himself constantly, comparing, yearning, and always feeling just outside some invisible light. In the hush of that unspoken gap, he whispered to himself, almost without thinking. "I have given everything," he told himself, "and still I am not chosen." It was not Turgon's failing, nor the city's. It was the echo of loss, of survival, and of a pride too deep to accept the quiet acknowledgement he did receive. Thus Maeglin became a study in how gifts, when entangled with unmastered desire, can rot inward. Gondolin trusted him, loved him, and that trust became, unknowingly, the sharpest weapon ever forged against it. As the dream drew on, I sensed echoes of what was yet to come. Footsteps in dark passes, questions asked too freely, answers given too carefully. Morgoth's shadow had not touched Maeglin yet, but it had begun to feel familiar, and that was more dangerous than fear. Lying in the Undying Lands, I felt sorrow deepen, not for what Maeglin would do, but for how clearly it could have been otherwise. Because he was not born a traitor. He was made one, slowly, quietly, by pride unexamined, by love twisted inward, and by the belief that being overlooked is the same as being wronged. And in that belief, the fall of Gondolin had already begun to breathe.